So of late, I've been talking too much about cheapies. Yes, it's an easy gateway for people who are new to the hobby to get into it, but sometimes it is also just pretty nice to go quite a few tiers up the chain and to talk about something a little bit more expensive. Today we talk about the Nightjar Acoustics Singularity. So if you saw the B-roll and wonder why does this pair look kinda beaten up, that is because this is Nightjar's very own demo unit that is used by Chunk mostly and contains all his good essence inside this earphone. Being Singaporean, I am only too proud to talk about an IEM made by a fellow compatriot. Well, my unboxing will be very different from those of you who have bought the early bird special. Mine is literally the one that is used by Chang, and these are the things he passed to me. Firstly, you get a Nightjar branded drawstring bag. Inside it is an anodized aluminum earphone case with a Nightjar logo on the lid. I like this debossed logo as the lines are quite thick and it actually catches light quite nicely. Inside the case, there are some velvet lining to prevent your earphone from getting scratched up. I've always liked metal hockey puck cases like this. The one that Nightjar provides is really nice, but the thing is I never actually bring them out because they are a little bit too clunky and a bit too heavy. But it's just really nice to store your earphones in them when at home. Twisting the lid off, you get the IEM tucked nicely into one of these meshy earphone protector things that will prevent them from getting even more beat up. You also get a cable organizer clip to help manage the cables as well. So next, let's talk about build quality. The chassis of the Singularity is made from 6000 series aluminum, which is an alloy of aluminum containing magnesium and silicone predominantly. This allows it to have very good strength and corrosion resistant properties. The chassis is then anodized to a black color. The faceplate of the Singularity has this ripple design. It has a 24K golden donut in the center of the ripple, which is quite nice. Nearer to the nozzle, you can see that the nozzle is slightly raised, and this is done for ergonomics, and I must say that it makes it quite comfortable to wear in the ear. The Singularity comes with a 2-pin cable, which is called the Vanguard. The Vanguard is a 7N OCC pure copper cable. This is a twisted cable rather than the more common braided ones as seen in numerous aftermarket cables. It does have an interchangeable 3.5, 4.4, 2.5mm plug should you have the need to change them. I actually found the splitter on the Vanguard cable to be really cute. It is basically a nightjar on the choker. Even the choker thingamajig is actually the lid of the jar. I really appreciate the attention on detail here. The jar details just look really cute, and I really like that it actually functions pretty well. The cable here also feels quite premium despite it being of a simple black twist rather than the more fanciful braided kind. Fit. The shape of the Singularity is one that has smooth edges with a raised section nearer to the nozzle. I never experienced any hot spots in my ears from hours of use. It also sits really nicely in my concha, which brings the center of the gravity closer to my ears, making it feel quite nice and snug. The cable provided is also pretty manageable as well and relatively microphonic free. Sound. The Singularity is a bassy IEM. There is no doubt about that. It does deviate from the current popular harmonist trend, which is honestly a breath of fresh air in a sea of same. For this review, I use my trusty Pogo Touch Titanium, mostly as if you want to get the most out of this IEM, a decent DAP is a must. This is an IEM for folks who love resonant bass, which is perfect for EDM lovers. I also really like it for rock as well, but the Singularity isn't really a one-trick pony. I would say that the reason for this is that despite its more obvious bass response, it still remains fast enough to suit quite a large number of genres. What I like about the Singularity is that it manages to keep the mid-range quite separate from the bass section, ensuring good levels of clarity. I was actually listening to Blink-182 and loved how the Singularity renders the music on the whole. The resonant bass makes the music sound like it's at the live setting. Sometimes with modern IEMs where bass speed is just a little quick and it can make tracks sound a little dry, those don't really work very well with rock, but for the Singularity, it's done to a T. And for some tracks though, due to the large quantity of bass, it can come across as a little bit too resonant than what I'm actually used to. Tracks such as The Hunter by Jennifer Warnes and Last Kiss by Taylor Swift are examples of this where bass is a little bit too much. It's still good quality bass, but the over-resonance can be a little distracting to the music. For folks who need the graph for visuals, I've included it somewhere here so you can take a look at how it graphs. Bass. As mentioned, these are a bassy pair that has excellent resonant properties. For me, this is the highlight of the Singularity. I wouldn't say that the bass is particularly fast, but the way it reverbs so naturally, it's quite the feature. sub-bass expansion is actually very excellent in the Singularity. It will be very present and you can clearly hear the extension. It then transitions into a prominent mid-bass as well. You get a very good kick from the mid-bass. Dynamics on the Singularity is excellent and this makes it a very exciting listen. The contrast between the soft and loud passages is pretty explosive. Resolution on bass frequencies are also pretty good. In terms of speed, as I've mentioned before, it isn't the fastest that I've heard, but I feel that this is a tuning preference with Nightjar favouring resonance over speed. Mid-range. With the large amount of bass, you would assume that the mid-range gets some kind of bass bleed that will mess around the mid-range. But in reality, this isn't the case. Mid-range is pretty separate with only some warmth from the bass colouring the tone. I like that it isn't overly warm and still retains a good sparkle. Male vocals are full-bodied and meaty sounding. Female vocals also have that warm tint, making them quite velvety to listen to. I do think that the resolution is very good on the Singularity. And when it comes to instruments, despite the large amount of bass, I still feel that they remain pretty separate and distinct, which is a testament to their tuning. Moving on to treble extension on the Singularity is very decent. It remains an overall smooth affair with the Singularity, and the Singularity has actually really good air. I've never found the Singularity to be peaky. Sibilant baddies such as crashes and cymbals are very well controlled. They sound crisp and clear without much roughness. Treble lends enough harmonics for the mid-range and bass to sound distinct and clear, overall balancing really well with the rest of the frequency ranges. Soundstage. The Singularity scores very well when it comes to width and height presentation. The clear treble and mids give such an impression. When it comes to depth and positioning, depth is actually pretty good on the Singularity. You can actually hear the distance between the instruments of the music quite well. Positioning wise, it is also very fine. And of course, I have to talk about some comparisons, and we'll compare it against the Fur Audio XE6. So I have a custom Fur Audio XE6, and what I can say is that both the Singularity and the XE6 are both bassy IEMs. They are tuned in a rather similar fashion, but there are some differences. I do think that the XE6 has more bass quantity than the Singularity, but the Singularity has better control and has more appealing resonance. It's just tighter by comparison. The XE6 bass is less defined and has less resolution. Mid-range, the XE6 is also thinner sounding than the Singularity. The XE6 does have a bit more treble energy compared to the Singularity. I do find that the cymbals on the XE6 do sound a little bit more splashy than the Singularity, that keeps it rather clean without roughness. Overall, I do prefer the Singularity over the XE6 as it is just a more cohesive sound. And yeah, with that, finally in conclusion. So yes, the essence of Chang really did make the Singularity sound better. It's full of his essence. But seriously though, I enjoyed the Singularity quite a bit, and especially for the rock genre. It made me feel like the girl at the rock show when listening to the track with the same name by Blink-182. Circa 2000 punk tracks mastered bass can be a little bit lean, and I found that the Singularity just adds enough bass for them to sound correct and enjoyable. Even for some older rock recordings, it will also be fantastic. But when it comes to quiet tracks where bass just suddenly drop like The Hunter from Jennifer Wan's and Taylor Swift's Last Kiss, bass can be a little bit overwhelming when it comes in. But these are only the minority. Overall, it has been a blast, and I'm quite sad that I have to return this unit to the good folks at Nightjar. With that said, I hope you liked today's episode of the Superchunk Super Audio Show. If you like the content so far, please kindly press the like and subscribe button somewhere down below. It will help me out a bunch. So when you are seeing this video, I am in Hong Kong right now. So I'm also going to do the show coverage for the Hong Kong AV, and that is one of the major shows in Asia where basically you have speakers, headphones, hi-fi, everything is there. It'll be one heck of a show. So those videos will be up very shortly. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you guys soon.